Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Old Quarter Dollar USA. On this channel, we explore the amazing world of old and historical coins from the United States and many other countries. Here you will discover the history, design, mint marks, metal composition, and interesting facts behind rare and collectible coins. Every coin has its own story, and our goal is to learn about these coins and understand their historical value. Top 1. The 1973 D Mint mark Liberty Roosevelt dime from the United States Mint is a classic American coin that represents the long-running Roosevelt dime series. This coin carries the denomination 1 dime, which equals 10 cents in United States currency. The Roosevelt dime series began in 1946 to honor the memory of Franklin D. Roosevelt, who served as the 32nd President of the United States and played a major role in leading the country through the Great Depression and World War II. Roosevelt was also closely connected with the fight against polio and helped establish the March of Dimes organization, which is one reason his portrait was chosen for the 10-cent coin. By 1973, the Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation for nearly 3 decades and had become one of the most recognizable small coins in the United States. The 1973 D version was produced at the Denver Mint, which is indicated by the small D mint mark located on the obverse side of the coin near the date. The obverse design of the 1973 D Roosevelt dime features the left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. The portrait was designed by sculptor and engraver John R., who served as the chief engraver of the United States Mint during the century. Roosevelt's profile is shown looking toward the left side of the coin, giving the design a strong and dignified appearance. Around the portrait, several inscriptions appear that represent American values and identity. At the top of the coin, you will see the word Liberty, which has been a standard inscription on many U.S. coins and symbolizes the nation's dedication to freedom and democracy. To the left of Roosevelt's neck appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," which was officially adopted on United States currency during the century. Below the portrait, you will find the year 1973, which indicates the year the coin was minted. Just beside the date is the D Mint mark, showing that the coin was produced in Denver. Near Roosevelt's neck are the small initials representing John, the designer of the coin. The reverse side of the 1973 D Roosevelt dime carries a symbolic and elegant design that reflects American unity and strength. At the center of the reverse is a torch, which represents liberty, enlightenment, and knowledge. The torch is flanked by 2 branches, an olive branch symbolizing peace, and an oak branch, symbolizing strength and independence. These 3 elements together express the balance of peace and power that the United States strives to maintain. Above the design appears the inscription United States of America, identifying the country that issued the coin. Just below that is the motto E Pluribus Unum, a Latin phrase meaning out of many one, which represents the unity of the states forming one nation. At the bottom of the reverse is the denomination 1 dime, clearly indicating the coin's value of 10 cents. This reverse design has remained largely unchanged for decades, making the Roosevelt dime one of the most stable and recognizable coin designs in modern U.S. coinage. The composition and physical characteristics of the 1973 D dime reflect changes made to U.S. coinage during the 1960s. Earlier dimes minted before 1965 contained 90% silver, but due to rising silver prices and increased demand for coins, the U.S. government changed the composition. By 1973, the dime was made from a copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between layers of copper-nickel alloy. This gave the coin its silvery appearance while reducing production costs. The coin weighs approximately 2.27 grams and has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, making it one of the smallest circulating coins in the United States. The edge of the dime is reeded, meaning it has small grooves around the edge. These ridges originally helped prevent people from shaving off small amounts of precious metal when coins were made from silver, but they remain today as a traditional feature. In terms of mintage, the 1973 D. Roosevelt dime was produced in large numbers for circulation across the United States. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of these coins, ensuring that there were enough dimes available for everyday transactions such as buying small items, paying parking meters, or making change in stores. Because the coin was minted in such high quantities, it is still commonly found in circulation and coin collections today. However, collectors often look for coins in uncirculated condition, meaning coins that were never used in daily commerce and therefore retain their original shine and detail. Coins with strong luster, minimal scratches, and sharp details are considered more valuable than heavily worn examples. For coin collectors, the 1973 D. Roosevelt dime can still be interesting even though it is not rare in normal condition. Collectors may search for coins with minting errors, such as off-center strikes, double die errors, or unusual metal defects. These rare error coins can sometimes be worth significantly more than their face value. Additionally, high-grade examples graded by professional services can have greater collector value. A typical circulated 1973 D-dime is usually worth its face value of 10 cents, but an uncirculated coin in excellent condition can be worth more to collectors who want to complete a full Roosevelt dime collection. Historically, the Roosevelt dime represents an important era in American coinage because it reflects the transition from silver coins to modern clad coinage. The early 1970s were a time when the United States economy and currency system were changing, and coins like the 1973 D-dime became part of everyday life for millions of Americans. From paying for public telephones to buying small items at stores, the dime played a practical role in daily transactions. Even today, the Roosevelt dime continues to circulate in the United States, showing how a simple coin design can remain relevant for many decades. Overall, the 1973 D. Roosevelt dime is a small but meaningful piece of American history. It honors President Franklin D. Roosevelt, reflects the artistic work of John R., and represents the long-standing traditions of the United States Mint. With its classic portrait, symbolic reverse design, and durable copper-nickel composition, the coin stands as a lasting example of modern U.S. coinage. For collectors, historians, and everyday people alike, the 1973 D-dime is more than just a 10-cent piece. It is a reminder of American leadership, national unity, and the continuing story of U.S. currency. Next, top 2. The 1980p Mint Mark Roosevelt dime is a small, but historically meaningful coin issued by the United States Mint as part of the long-running Roosevelt dime. This coin carries the denomination 1 dime, which equals 10 cents in United States currency. The Roosevelt dime series first appeared in 1946, shortly after the death of Franklin D. Roosevelt, whose portrait appears on the coin. Roosevelt was widely respected for his leadership during the Great Depression and World War II, and he was also closely associated with the fight against polio through the March of Dimes campaign. Because of this connection, the United States chose to honor him on the 10-cent coin. By the year 1980, the Roosevelt dime had already been in circulation for more than 3 decades and had become one of the most familiar coins in American daily life. The 1980 version with the P Mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which is one of the oldest and most important minting facilities in the United States. Interestingly, coins from Philadelphia traditionally carried no mint mark for many years, but beginning in 1980, the Mint started placing the letter P on most coins to identify their origin. The obverse side of the 1980 P. Roosevelt dime features the well-known portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt facing left. This portrait was designed by John R. Sinek, who served as the chief engraver of the United States Mint during the mid-20th century. His design captures Roosevelt's dignified profile and strong leadership image. Around the portrait appear several inscriptions that represent American values and traditions. The word liberty is prominently displayed along the left side of the coin, symbolizing the nation's commitment to freedom and democratic principles. Near Roosevelt's neck is the national motto, "In God We Trust," which has appeared on many United States coins since the 19th century and reflects the country's historical cultural heritage. Below the portrait appears the year 1980, marking the year the coin was minted. Beside the date is the small P mint mark, indicating that this coin was produced in Philadelphia. Just below Roosevelt's neck, you will also notice the small initials JS, which stand for John Sinek, the designer of the coin. The reverse side of the 1980 P. Roosevelt dime carries a symbolic design that represents unity, peace, and strength. At the center of the reverse is a torch, which symbolizes liberty, enlightenment, and knowledge. The torch represents the guiding light of freedom that has long been associated with the ideals of the United States. On the left side of the torch is an olive branch, representing peace and diplomacy, while on the right side is an oak branch, representing strength, stability, and endurance. Together, these three symbols form a powerful message about the balance between peace and strength in American national values. Above the central design appears the inscription United States of America, clearly identifying the issuing country. Beneath that inscription is the Latin motto E pluribus unum, which means out of many one, referring to the unity of the many states that form the United States. At the bottom of the coin is the denomination 1 dime, clearly showing the coin's value of 10 cents. The physical characteristics and composition of the 1980 P. Roosevelt dime reflect the modern era of United States coinage. Prior to 1965, dimes were made of 90% silver, but rising silver prices forced the United States government to change the metal composition of circulating coins. By 1980, the dime was produced using a copper-nickel-clad composition, consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers made of a copper-nickel alloy. This combination gives the coin its bright silver-like appearance while keeping production costs lower and ensuring durability in circulation. The coin weighs approximately 2.27 grams and has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, making it one of the smallest coins used in everyday transactions in the United States. The edge of the coin is reeded, meaning it contains small vertical grooves around the rim. These grooves were originally designed to prevent people from shaving small amounts of silver from coins when they were made of precious metal, but they remain today as a traditional design feature. The mintage of the 1980 P. Roosevelt dime was extremely large because dimes were widely used in everyday commerce throughout the United States. Millions of these coins were produced at the Philadelphia Mint and distributed across the country for use in vending machines, public transportation systems, payphones, parking meters, and everyday purchases. Because of the high production numbers, the 1980 P dime is generally considered a common coin and can still be found in circulation today. However, collectors often search for coins that remain in uncirculated condition, meaning coins that have never been used in daily transactions and still retain their original mint luster and sharp design details. High-quality examples preserved in mint condition can be more desirable to collectors. For coin collectors and numismatists, the 1980 P. Roosevelt dime can still be interesting even though it is not rare in ordinary condition. Some collectors search for coins with minting errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or unusual metal planchet defects. These types of mint errors can make a coin much more valuable than its normal face value. Additionally, collectors who build complete date and mint mark sets of Roosevelt dimes often include the 1980 P coin as an essential part of the collection. Coins that are graded by professional coin grading services and receive high grades for quality and preservation may also have higher collector value. Historically, the Roosevelt dime represents a significant period in United States monetary history. By the 1980s, the transition from silver coins to clad coins had already been fully established, and coins like the 1980 P dime became everyday tools of commerce for millions of Americans. People used dimes for small purchases, telephone calls, and vending machines, making them an important part of daily economic activity. Even though the coin is small in size, it carries deep historical meaning because it honors President Franklin D. Roosevelt and reflects the values of liberty, unity, and strength that are central to American identity. Next, top 3. The 1983 P Mint Mark Liberty Roosevelt dime is an important coin from the modern era of American currency and is part of the famous Roosevelt dime produced by the United States Mint. The coin carries the denomination 1 dime, which equals 10 cents in United States money. The Roosevelt dime series first began in 1946, shortly after the death of Franklin D. Roosevelt, who served as president from 1933 to 1945 and was one of the most influential leaders in American history. Roosevelt led the country during the difficult years of the Great Depression and the global conflict of World War II. He was also closely connected to the fight against polio through the March of Dimes organization, which raised funds for medical research and treatment of the disease. Because of this connection to the dime, the United States decided to honor Roosevelt by placing his portrait on the 10-cent coin. By the time the 1983 P dime was produced, the Roosevelt design had already been used for more than 35 years and had become one of the most recognizable coins in everyday American life. The 1983 P Roosevelt dime was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which is the oldest minting facility in the United States and has been producing coins since 1792. The letter P mint mark on the coin indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. For many years, coins from Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark, but beginning in 1980, the United States Mint started placing the P mint mark on most coins produced there, including the Roosevelt dime. This change made it easier for collectors and historians to identify where each coin was produced. The 1983 P dime therefore represents part of a modern era in U.S. coinage, when mint marks became standard for identifying the origin of coins. The obverse side of the 1983 P Roosevelt dime features the left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. This portrait was designed by the well-known U.S. Mint engraver John R. Sinek, who created the design shortly after Roosevelt's death. The portrait is simple yet powerful, capturing Roosevelt's calm and determined expression. Around the portrait appear several inscriptions that reflect American ideals and identity. The word liberty is placed along the left side of the coin, representing the core value of freedom that the United States was founded upon. Near Roosevelt's neck appears the national motto, "In God We Trust," which has appeared on American coins since the 19th century and reflects the nation's historical cultural traditions. Below the portrait appears the year 1983, indicating the year the coin was minted. Beside the date is the small P mint mark, identifying the Philadelphia Mint as the place of production. Just below Roosevelt's neck are the small initials JS, representing the designer John Sinek. The reverse side of the 1983 P Roosevelt dime contains a symbolic design that reflects the strength and unity of the United States. At the center of the design is a torch, representing liberty, enlightenment, and knowledge. The torch symbolizes the light of freedom and democracy that guides the nation. On the left side of the torch is an olive branch, a traditional symbol of peace and diplomacy. On the right side is an oak branch, representing strength, courage, and endurance. These three symbols together represent the balance between peace and strength in American values. Above the central design appears the inscription United States of America, clearly identifying the country that issued the coin. Just below that inscription is the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, which refers to the union of many states forming one nation. At the bottom of the reverse side appears the denomination 1 dime, clearly indicating the coin's value of 10 cents. The composition and physical characteristics of the 1983 P. Roosevelt dime reflect the modern metallic structure used for United States coins. Earlier dimes minted before 1965 were made of 90% silver, but rising silver prices forced the United States government to remove silver from circulating coins. By the time the 1983 dime was produced, the coin was made using a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that the coin contains a core of pure copper sandwiched between outer layers of copper and nickel alloy. This construction gives the coin its shiny silver-colored appearance, while making it more affordable to produce and durable enough for everyday use. The coin weighs approximately 2.27 grams and has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters, making it one of the smallest coins in United States currency. The edge of the coin is reeded, meaning it contains small vertical grooves around the rim. These grooves originally served to prevent the shaving of precious metal from coins when they were made of silver, but today they remain as a traditional feature of U.S. coin design. The mintage of the 1983 P. Roosevelt dime was very high because dimes were widely used in daily transactions across the United States during the early 1980s. Millions of coins were produced to meet the demand for small change used in vending machines, public transportation systems, parking meters, and other everyday purchases. Because so many were produced, the coin is considered common and can still be found in circulation today. However, collectors often search for coins in uncirculated condition, meaning coins that have never been used in everyday commerce and therefore retain their original mint shine and crisp details. Such coins may be preserved in coin rolls, mint sets, or private collections. For coin collectors and numismatists, the 1983 P. Roosevelt dime has a special point of interest because the early 1980s were a time when relatively fewer official mint sets were produced compared to other years. As a result, collectors sometimes find it slightly harder to locate high-quality, uncirculated examples of this coin compared with other common dates. Collectors also search for mint errors, such as double dies, off-center strikes, or coins struck on incorrect metal planchets. These rare errors can make a coin far more valuable than its normal face value. High-grade coins that have been professionally graded and preserved may also be worth more to collectors who are completing a full set of Roosevelt dimes. Historically, the 1983 P. Roosevelt dime reflects the economic and social environment of the United States during the early 1980s. At that time, the country was experiencing technological growth, changing economic conditions, and a modernizing financial system. Coins like the Roosevelt dime were essential for everyday transactions, especially before the widespread use of digital payments and electronic banking. People used dimes for public telephones, vending machines, bus fares, and small purchases at shops and markets. Because of this everyday use, billions of Roosevelt dimes circulated throughout the country, becoming a familiar part of American daily life. Next, top 4. The 1988 D-Mint Mark Liberty Roosevelt dime is a modern American 10-cent coin issued by the United States Mint as part of the famous Roosevelt dime. This coin carries the denomination 1 dime, which represents 10 cents in the currency of the United States. The Roosevelt Dime series first began in 1946 to honor the memory of Franklin D. Roosevelt, one of the most respected leaders in American history. Roosevelt served as president from 1933 until his death in 1945 and led the country through two of its most challenging periods, the Great Depression and World War II. He was also strongly associated with the fight against polio and helped inspire the creation of the March of Dimes campaign, which raised funds for medical research and treatment of the disease. Because of this connection to the word dime, the United States decided to place Roosevelt's portrait on the 10-cent coin shortly after his passing. By the time the 1988 D-dime was produced, the Roosevelt design had already been in circulation for more than 40 years and had become one of the most recognizable and widely used coins in American everyday life. The 1988 D. Roosevelt dime was minted at the Denver Mint, which is one of the major coin-producing facilities operated by the United States Mint. The letter D mint mark on the coin indicates that it was struck at the Denver Mint in Colorado. This mint facility has been producing coins for circulation since the early 20th century and is responsible for creating hundreds of millions of coins each year for use across the United States. The presence of the mint mark allows collectors and historians to identify exactly where the coin was produced, which is an important part of coin collecting and numismatic study. The Denver Mint has produced many Roosevelt dimes over the decades, and the 1988 D version represents the continuing production of this long-running coin series during the late 20th century. The obverse side of the 1988 D. Roosevelt dime features the left-facing portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. This portrait was designed by John R. Sinek, who served as the chief engraver of the United States Mint and created the design shortly after Roosevelt's death. Sinek's design captures Roosevelt's calm and confident expression, presenting him as a strong and determined leader. Around the portrait appear several inscriptions that reflect the values and identity of the United States. The word liberty is placed along the left side of the coin, representing the fundamental principle of freedom that lies at the heart of American democracy. Near Roosevelt's neck appears the national motto, "I in God we trust," which has been used on United States coins since the 19th century and reflects the nation's cultural and historical traditions. Below the portrait appears the year 1988, indicating the year in which the coin was minted. Just beside the date appears the small D mint mark, showing that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Beneath Roosevelt's neck are the small initials JS, which stand for John Sinek, the designer responsible for creating the coin's portrait. The reverse side of the 1988 D. Roosevelt dime contains a symbolic design that reflects the ideals and unity of the United States. At the center of the reverse is a torch, representing liberty, enlightenment, and knowledge. The torch symbolizes the guiding light of freedom that leads the nation forward. On the left side of the torch is an olive branch, a traditional symbol of peace and diplomacy. On the right side is an oak branch, representing strength, endurance, and national stability. These three elements together express the balance between peace and strength that defines the values of the United States. Above the central design appears the inscription United States of America, clearly identifying the issuing country. Beneath that inscription appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many one, which refers to the union of many states forming a single nation. At the bottom of the coin is the denomination 1 dime, clearly indicating the coin's value of 10 cents. The composition and physical characteristics of the 1988 D. Roosevelt dime reflect the modern materials used in United States coinage. Before 1965, dimes were made of 90% silver, but rising silver prices forced the government to change the composition of circulating coins. By the late 20th century, including the year 1988, The Roosevelt dime was produced using a copper-nickel-clad composition. This means that the coin contains a core of pure copper sandwiched between two outer layers of copper-nickel alloy. This construction gives the coin its bright silver-colored appearance while making it durable and affordable to produce. The coin weighs approximately 2.27 grams and has a diameter of about 17.91 millimeters, making it one of the smallest coins in the United States monetary system. The edge of the coin is reeded, meaning it contains small vertical grooves around the rim. These grooves were originally introduced to prevent the shaving of precious metals from coins when they were made of silver, and they remain today as a traditional design feature. The mintage of the 1988 D. Roosevelt dime was very large because dimes were heavily used in everyday American commerce during the 1980s. Millions of these coins were struck at the Denver Mint and distributed across the country for use in daily transactions. People used dimes in vending machines, parking meters, public transportation systems, and many other small purchases. Because such a large number of coins were produced, the 1988 D-dime is considered a common coin and is still frequently found in circulation today. However, collectors often look for coins that remain in uncirculated condition, meaning coins that were never used in everyday transactions and therefore retain their original mint luster and sharp design details. For coin collectors and numismatists, the 1988 D. Roosevelt dime can still hold interest despite its common availability. Collectors often build complete sets of Roosevelt dimes that include coins from every year and mint location, making the 1988 D an important part of the series. Some collectors also search for minting errors, such as double die varieties, off-center strikes, or planchet defects. These unusual coins can sometimes become much more valuable than their normal face value. In addition, coins that have been professionally graded and preserved in very high condition may also have greater collector value. Historically, the 1988 D. Roosevelt dime represents a period when the United States economy was modernizing and electronic payment systems were beginning to develop, yet coins were still widely used for everyday purchases. Before the widespread use of credit cards, mobile payments, and digital banking, coins like the dime were essential for many daily activities. People used them for payphones, parking meters, vending machines, and bus fares. Because of this frequent use, the Roosevelt